You said just a moment ago, gusts at the station of about 50. I'm telling you right now, it's got to be at least that here at the Golden Nugget. Now, just so you're aware, we're safe where we are. It's raining, the wind is blowing, but we have this huge parking garage just on the other side of Mike, my cameraman. He's blocking a lot of what we have going on here. But if you take a look, it is literally sheets of rain just coming in right now.
The storm passing about right here, and that core of winds, the strongest winds that you see right here, that is making its way towards Hancock County, southwestern Harrison County over the next hour.
Over in Hancock County, we have our Michael Dugan, and he just went through the eye wall of the storm, so the most brutal part of the storm, and we're going to go out live to him for a live look. Michael, what was that experience like? Tell us a little bit about it.
Allison, I got this wall right next to me, and if I take a step about a couple inches to my right, the wind starts to feel like it's enough to kind of push me forward one way or another. So my crew and I were kind of hanging out by this wall. We've got a couple things blocking us, so we don't feel that big time. You can probably hear it. We're in a parking garage in downtown Bay St. Louis. This wind is absolutely whistling through this parking garage right now. I don't know if my hat is going to make it through this, but you can, there it goes right there. You can see the rain kind of whip through the parking garage behind me. I don't know if you can tell, but this wind is really whipping in. It's kind of tough to stay on your 2 feet. You've got to kind of get in a little bit of a stance and stand firm. We've seen a couple more transformers blow in the sky, but this is definitely the strongest wind we have felt all night. It has picked up significantly over the last 15 or 20 minutes, and these gusts that come through, this is my first time seeing that they're anything more than a tropical storm, and these gusts that whip and whistle right through this parking garage are breathtaking. I've never felt anything like this. I know it's not the strongest one this area has seen, but for me personally, this is something else. So we'll be here in Hancock County all night long, checking back in with you guys, but for now, reporting in Bay St. Louis, Michael Dugan, WLOX News Now.
We're going to take a live look at the conditions right now from the Golden Nugget in Biloxi. You see the wind is whipping. This is in, I believe, it's one of the, whoa, that's, this is not on the first, this is not in the first floor, but you can still see water coming in.
Wow.
Yes, they.
Oh my gosh, look at this water. We're hearing now that our reporter who is out there, Chet Landry, is now trapped. Look at someone's car there. Look at how high that water is. This is just extraordinary footage here. Look at that surge. Wow.
Yeah, and if the water is up that high there at the Golden Nugget, that gives you an idea of what the conditions are like all along Highway 90.
If you look really closely on the shot there, you could see the flag that is in our front yard just flapping in the wind. I'm seeing things kind of flying in the air a little bit. Some looks like, oh, you saw that? You saw that big bright flash? That was not lightning. That was a power surge. There's another one. That is another power surge we just got there. So this, you're seeing those blue flashes in the sky. Those are power flashes. We are losing power by the second. The core of hurricane force winds now covering all of Hancock County, now moving into Harrison County. And I apologize if we kind of go in and out of coverage. We are getting power surges here at the station, so things are just a little chaotic behind the scenes because of that, as we do have a hurricane that's bearing down on us at the moment.
With it moving very quickly, we are also going to see a lot more trees down, a lot more power lines down, and we're also getting a good soaking of rain now. And we did just take a power hit here. We lost power. I'm going to keep going just in case. It looks like we could still be on the air and you can still hear us. Everyone here is fine, but we are going to be, I'm sure there's some power outages around the station and throughout South Mississippi. We've got our generators kicking in and coming back on. And so we, again, that's part of the reason why we are here, is to keep you up to date. And that's also why we want to tell people to make sure that you do stay indoors. This is also the time we're telling people, if you do still have power, make sure you charge your phone, because you can get us on our app.
If you look down here, you can see the half of the door down here, down the staircase. The doors are closed. It's up to the handrails on the door right here. The water is about up to the 5th or 6th step in this staircase. And it's literally, I can literally feel it shaking underneath my feet as the water, it really just kind of pounds us.
Take a look at this. At the peak of Hurricane Zeta here along the coast, strong winds managed to knock down the steeple at the Bay Vista Baptist Church in Biloxi. The caretaker of the property there says the congregation did the best they could to prepare the church for the storm and hoped it did not bring any major damage.
I heard it come crashing down, and when I opened up the door, it just blew it right off. And it was amazing that it didn't do any more damage than what it has done. I think mainly the trees back here, bushes, kind of cushioned it from doing any more damage than it's done.
Some of the damage that was done along the coast. I've been seeing your updates, Michael, on Twitter. It seems like there's a lot of damage in the area where you are. You're right now on Highway 90 in Pass Christian. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Allison, Hugh, first off, eastbound on 90, pretty much right when you get off the bridge from Bay St. Louis, covered in sand, a lot of water, a lot of sand. Shouldn't be driving on it anyway, but it took us a very long time to get here. Now to what's in front of me. This appears to be the remains or some remains of a pier. I don't know where it came from. We're not certain where it came from. There is another big chunk behind me, about 20 yards. All of this wood, there's a lot of rope too. This is a complete mess. We're at the intersection of Magnolia and 90.
What are you seeing? What are some of your big damage assessments that you're finding out about?
Yeah, so what we're getting a lot, of course, the storm surge has been reported very heavily there on the coast with the water, but we've got a lot of wind damage statewide. Currently about 220,000 plus without power across the state. Harrison County, obviously, most populous hit area, is the largest without power. The majority of that county is without power. Pearl River County was hit very hard. They've got a lot of trees and power lines down, and of course this damage extends all the way up into George and even parts of Wayne County.
As the storm continues to move through South Mississippi, Hancock County was the first area really to see significant damage earlier tonight, but the storm has really moved out of Hancock County, at least the most significant part right now.
Yeah, the storm, the most significant part, has moved out of that area, but we're getting a ton of reports now of damage in that area. We've seen a lot coming through social media, and actually our Michael Dugan joins us now from the 100-man hall. And Michael, we're hearing that historical structure actually lost part of its roof. What can you tell us?
That's right, Allison. Unfortunately, that is correct. I don't know if you can see behind me. It is extremely dark here. We've got all the lights we could possibly have on it, but the back quarter of the roof has blown off here. We're not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure where it is, but we have Rachel Dangermond here, the owner of 100-man hall, who heard it all from just behind it. Walk us through what happened.
Well, I live in the back of the hall. There's a 2-bedroom apartment in back. And when the wind started picking up so bad, I went to the living room and I closed the interior doors, because as soon as the rain was coming down really hard, it started coming in the side back door, which it never does. But there was water just gushing in. So I got my dogs and everything. We went in, and we were inside with the doors shut in the living room. And the doors were rattling so bad, and I couldn't understand why that was. And then I went in the kitchen, everything went dark, and there was I would touch the table, and there was debris everywhere. And also stuff was blowing through that I didn't understand, but the noises were horrendous. I mean, I really was scared. I went through Betsy, I remember that, and sounded like that, kind of trees falling, that kind of thing. Then I saw this big piece of lumber fly through the air, and I thought, oh no, that came off the hall somewhere. And it wasn't until it all quieted down that my neighbors called and said, your roof is gone. So you can't see it, but it's taken off the back half of the roof of the hall. It's you can see all the insulations in the trees and in the foliage back here. And then we just finished remodeling the tin shed, and trees have fallen on that as well. I mean, it's just completely devastated this area, and we actually have we've been closed since March because of the pandemic. We actually were having a fundraising concert on November 13th that we're going to have, but now it matters more than before because we need to raise a lot of funds to take care of this problem. So.
And do you have any idea where the roof is? Have you looked around to find it?
I did. I poked around with my neighbors, and we had our flashlights. We saw some really big pieces behind this shed, so we think that maybe it got over there, but I just don't know. I had some tin over there, but these look like really big, large pieces, and that's what this would be. We don't know if some of it caved into the roof. I mean, the back's just a mess, so anyway, tomorrow morning's gonna show. 2020 yet again.
2020 yet again.
Good morning from WLOX News Now. This is Good Morning Mississippi.
Well, it is pitch black outside as many of you are waking up without power, perhaps watching us on your phone or tablet. I know you're eager to get out and assess the damage after winds from Zeta savagely whipped across South Mississippi. But right now, many cities have extended their curfews and first responders are urging you to stay off the roads. It is a mess out there.
Just take a look behind me at all of this debris that you can see. This is near the Shaggies off of Highway 90, and I'm imagining that I can't really tell because it is so dark, but it appears to look like it is the deck or the porch of this Shaggies. So a lot of debris out here, much of it blocking Highway 90. That's why we ended up stopping here, because we didn't know if we could get around there safely. But you can see up there just how much debris is covering the roads and how dangerous it is for you to be out on the roads. This is why officials are urging you to stay at home right now. In fact, earlier we saw a boat out on Highway 90, so it's not just the plywood and the trees. We saw a boat as well, not something you see every day.
Low-lying areas of South Mississippi inundated with floodwaters, some of that water even rushing into some houses. Andres Fuentes spoke to one family who had to be rescued by the Biloxi Fire Department.
Started off as a normal day.
But things dramatically changed for LaTora and her family of 6 as Hurricane Zeta stormed through South Mississippi.
And we woke up and the house was flooding and we were all scared because the water was coming in really fast and we didn't know what to do.
That's when the fire department came to the rescue, ready to answer similar calls as the rains and winds died down.
Medical emergencies, high water incidents, that sort of thing.
The storm and the aftermath was something first responders prepared for.
We know we're going to have issues with storm surge, street flooding, that sort of thing.
Residents trusted the emergency personnel and their faith.
We all just gathered around and prayed and hoped everything was okay.
Reporting in Biloxi, Andres Fuentes, WLOX News Now.
So we're down here just east of the Biloxi Small Craft Harbor. You see the barnacles, you saw the oyster shells. This is a huge piling that's washed across the road from the storm surge. Josh is showing you how big this thing is, and I promise you something, it ain't moving, okay? But the water moved it. That 7 to 11 feet of storm surge moved this thing across. Now, it was either on a pier that got damaged in another storm, or it was maybe over in the harbor. I'm thinking it was in that pier that's right across from here, that where there was just pilings. The storm surge knocked this thing. And the problem is it's sticking out in the westbound lane of Highway 90, as Josh is showing you. I've seen 3 cars just in the past 10 minutes almost hit this thing. They come up on it and realize, then swerve. That's how accidents happen. That's why they're asking folks to stay off the roads.
Developing overnight, Hurricane Zeta turns deadly. Officials tell us one person was found dead in Biloxi at the old Broadwater Marina. No word yet on what exactly happened. The Harrison County coroner identified the victim, though, as 58-year-old Leslie Richardson. We're told he was sending video to his sister of the storm when he got back into his car around. He was trapped, surrounded by deep water, and called 911.
They were trying to get assistance to him from the police department. The police department, due to the storm surge and the water over Highway 90, even in their military-style vehicles, were unable to reach him.
Well, at that point, officials say Richardson told dispatchers he was going to try to swim to higher ground. Dispatchers lost contact with the Theodore, Alabama native shortly after, and later a man's body was seen floating on Highway 90. Authorities believe Richardson drowned.
A lot of widespread damage. That's a perfect diagnosis, but from what we've seen here in Biloxi today, it's a lot of structure damage, nothing too heavy, but enough to cause problems. A lot of trees down, utility poles down.
So this is one of those spots where one of these trees did fall onto one of the houses here in the St. Martin community. And you can kind of see over my right shoulder here, the size of this tree. It stretches up well above the house, and it actually splintered down the middle, with half of the tree falling into the yard, and unfortunately the other half falling on top of that garage there.
Look over my right shoulder. That traffic light is the last one standing here at the intersection of Cowan and Pass in Gulfport. You can see a Gulfport police officer in the middle of that intersection directing traffic.
Past Christian saw a lot of damage from Hurricane Zeta.
Desiree Duncan shows us how people are recovering after this brutal storm.
Denise Bourdin spent Thursday morning picking up pieces of what used to be her business. The small building was destroyed when Hurricane Zeta roared through.
We had a little building that's been here since probably about 2016, and it's gone.
Bourdin says she wasn't expecting Zeta to cause so much damage.
Not as bad as Katrina all over, but it's kind of like, oh, here we go again.
Bourdin wasn't the only one dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Zeta. Cleanup crews got to work bright and early. Take a look at the debris that was scattered across Highway 90. The storm also washed boats ashore. Kara and Carter Aiken say this was a powerful storm.
It was pitch black and there was a lot of rain and wind, and the wind was howling, and I could not sleep because I was sweating like crazy. And the power's still off.
Catherine Griffin spent her morning raking tree debris. She's glad things weren't worse.
In that I don't have any house damage that I can tell anyway, but I did have one tree that I think I'm going to lose. And other than that, I think it's been pretty okay. Not terrible, not great.
In Past Christian, Desiree Duncan, WLOX News Now.